All right, we gotta talk about it because I feel like the best way to potentially and hopefully get an answer is to make as much noise as possible. And that's why I decided to make this video, which by the way, I feel kind of nostalgic. I feel like 2016, 2015 Rhyme, where I used to cover the news aspects of all the Dragon Ball games and then do videos like this all the time, which was a lot of fun. But I'm here to ask one simple question. Bandai Namco, what the f is going on with Dragon Ball Sparking Zero? The reason why I asked that is because it's like, do y'all even know what y'all want to do anymore? This is what annoys me about this. And by the way, before we get into it, I don't want this to be this is why we don't like Sparking Zero all over the comments. I mean, by all means, I'm not going to stop you. You're more than welcome to voice your opinions. We've been doing that for the past year. The first couple weeks of that game were magical and amazing. And then we realized what was wrong with the game, and the game kind of like fell off for a lot of us. The reason I'm making this video is because I truly feel it's one or two things, and both are pretty extreme in my opinion. Either Bandai doesn't know what the fuck they're doing with the game, or two, they're working on a massive update that's going to make as many people as possible happy, and they're waiting to, I guess, get to the point where they can announce it. And I'm hoping it's option 2, because option 1 is scary, because if they don't know what they're doing with the game that sold 5 million copies in like 6 months, that's not a good sign. And Bandai has, you know, they've mismanaged games before a lot. They're not exactly perfect as a company, and while Sparking Zero was one of the most hyped up games of all time, and then obviously didn't live up to the hype, I still don't want that game to fail. I feel like Sparking Zero built a great blueprint for what a good modern Dragon Ball game in a 3D arena could be. It's just that they didn't fully execute on a lot of things that, you know, made us play the hell out of Xenoverse for the last couple years. And by last couple years, I mean decade. That game is celebrating 10 years technically, I think soon, because Xenoverse 1 came out in 2015, and then Xenoverse 2 came out in 2016. And I will also point out that when Xenoverse 2 came out, it improved so much what was wrong with Xenoverse 1. It wasn't a perfect game. The netcode still sucked, and if you got it in a decent game, you hated everything about it. Getting false hit confirms just to die was the worst. But I feel like Sparking Zero is like, their release is so much better than Xenoverse 1. All they gotta do is fill in like the gaps of what's missing with the game, and the game will be insanely good. While I don't think they're necessarily working on a Sparking Zero 2, I do feel like they could be working a big update that adds a lot of what was kind of needed and required for us as players of the game to really play Sparking Zero as much as we did with Xenoverse. And I'm hoping that's the case. But right now, we're getting nothing. Now, I know that Battle Hour is happening, January, February? They do it every single year. And with Battle Hour, from what we saw the last couple years, they always kind of tend to focus on like showcasing each game. Like, oh, what do you have for us? What do you have for us? Legends is doing this, Dokkan is doing this, Fighters is doing that. I do know that they take the opportunity to kind of like showcase the roadmap for the games they're working on. And it's also kind of weird because this time around, they made an announcement where they specifically listed stuff like Dragon Ball Fighters, which is a game that's not exactly active anymore. And what I mean by active, I mean I'm talking about like how often they update it. I don't know what happened with that game. There's obviously some kind of internal drama between them and ArcSys that we just don't know about that led to them completely abandoning the game. Because I mean, even with the rollback, it was Bandai that actually had to hire like an outside company to like figure out, and then that's why rollback was so messy when they released it. But the fact that they're announcing that they're doing something for Fighters is interesting. It's one or two things, by the way. It's either going to be another announcement to do another world tour, which is kind of what I'm expecting, or they might drop the bomb on us that they're going to drop another big update and potentially DLC. So hopefully we'll see. Oh, brother, this guy's coping. Something with that game, because Fighters was way too good to be mistreated the way it was in the last couple years. Honestly unfair. One point with Battle Hour and bringing it up is, you know, Battle Hour is where we can expect like a solid answer of what's to come. But what's weird about Sparking Zero is how quiet they've been since the last couple of big updates. And you know what's even more annoying? A lot of us paid for the DLC that we haven't gotten yet. Why? Does anyone know what the biggest gap is between DLCs for all the main games? Kakarot doesn't count because Kakarot, I feel like whenever they drop the DLC, it's more like essentially another game within the game, so it takes a bit longer. But like for Xenoverse, I know with Xenoverse 1, all the first DLCs came out within like the first year, obviously, because the sequel came out the very next year. I want to say we got a DLC for Xenoverse like every month. And then Xenoverse 2, it was every couple months, and then they did another season, and another season, and another season, and now they're kind of slowing down, because they're probably trying to figure out what they want to do next, because it's like, they covered everything already, so it's like, where else do you go? And apparently now they announced like a dating simulator or something. You can now rizz up Chilai or something. I don't know, I didn't really look into it. I saw the trailer pop up, I didn't really understand it, but obviously Xenoverse is still getting updates, because a lot of people still play that game, at least on the PlayStation side. Something else I also want to point out is a lot of times people like to always look at numbers, and it's like, who still plays Xenoverse? And then they bring up the stats on PC, and it's like 7 people are playing. Yeah, it's because most anime games, they live on PlayStation more. The reason why is because no one really has Xbox in Japan. I don't even know if you can buy an Xbox in Japan. And that's why there's always a big focus on PlayStation, and then PC is kind of like a side thing that pops up. And then if the game is big enough, they also include Xbox along with that. That's why PlayStation is always so massive compared to all the other consoles and platforms, because it's kind of like the preferred place. That's why whenever my friends are like, what game are we getting this game on, gang? PlayStation. I mean, obviously PC has mods and stuff, but I'm trying to also play the game. And if I go on PC a month later, it's going to be a wasteland. No one's going to be on there. My point though is with the DLC, what's annoying is leading up to the release of the game, they said 3 DLCs are coming. One being superhero, which honestly I feel like now in the hindsight, it should have just been part of the game. Because even with this DLC, they don't really give us that much. They give us like what? They give us like 4 characters, but then they count it as 12 because of different forms. And to be fair, I guess the characters do somewhat play differently, but let's be real, it's 4 characters, or 5 characters, or 3 characters. They announced that we're going to get Superhero, which was a good DLC. Then they announced Daima. And then they said question mark for the next one. And then they randomly released Shallot, which to be fair, Shallot was to go along with the anniversary of Dragon Ball Legends, so I get that was kind of random, but it's like, do y'all know what y'all are going to give us for DLC 3? I mean, we know it's got to be like the part 2 of Daima, obviously. I think they even mentioned that a while back. But it's like, it needs way more. So now the question is I wonder if DLC 3 is only taking this long because they know they can't just drop the Daima stuff. Because I don't even know how much they considered the Daima DLC even a success compared to previous DLCs, because it was such a different kind of like DLC to release. Like, I know Superhero probably sold like crazy because it's Beast Gohan. I mean, come on. Beast Gohan is amazing. It's like the equivalent to UI for Goku. Everyone's going to want that. But Daima, I feel like, is a bit more random. Not everybody might have gotten that DLC. So that's probably why they were like,
Buzz, what do we do for DLC 3?
I don't know, let's figure it out. Either way, though, we need some kind of communication. Because the fact that we're like, at the 1-year anniversary almost, what is this, September 17th, in like, what, 3 weeks, the game officially came out a year ago. The fact that we're this deep and there's no information, nothing being said, is crazy to me. And then I saw a tweet also by DBS Hype talking about that they don't even have a scan coming up in the next like jump or something, which implies that they still have nothing to announce. How do you fumble this game this bad? Like, is it a management thing? Is it just like the fact that like Bandai doesn't like to look at the actual feedback outside of Japan and see what people want to see in general? Like, I don't know what it is. It's just so weird to me. But either way, I feel like Bandai, we're kind of owed an answer, because like, you guys sold us DLC, a lot of us bought the season pass, and a lot of us are waiting for the next DLC. Just something that's like, move, do something. You know that little meme, do something, come on. That's how we all feel right now. And the fact that we were essentially sold this DLC that has like, I don't know, y'all get it when you get it mentality, I feel like just isn't right. So I don't know. That's why I decided to sit down and actually make this video, because I feel like we just need something, like just anything, a teaser even. Even Xenoverse technically has been doing better 10 years later with their communication, and their communication has been ass, because I think the last time they told us DLC was coming out was like, what, 2 years ago, a year ago, and then it was all silence. But at least they gave us something with that teaser that came out recently. Whereas Spark and Zero, which is their main focus, their main baby right now, nothing. Am I crazy to like, to want some kind of answer? Like, surely I'm not the only one. And again, I know Spark and Zero has had a very controversial take to a lot of people. We were all disappointed. Like, the fact that like, this is the first time in a very, very long time where the internet unanimously came together and they were hyped. Again, I know I said I don't want this to turn to this kind of discussion here. I'm just reiterating again. We were all super excited to get essentially like a Tenkaichi, and it is a Tenkaichi, it's just not the same. It was missing the soul. I think that's what it was. It was missing the soul that made Tenkaichi what it was, and that's why a lot of people stopped playing it. But like, overall, if we look at it, the game is like a glorified demo. You know, the story mode gave us cool moments, but then they chose not to like follow those footsteps again. Like, how do you do Gohan Black, but then that's it? It's like, so we're just not gonna do any more. This kind of like what if stuff that could be really, really hype. And then like the custom battle by far is the biggest fumble, because I feel like what happened is they made the custom battle as an idea that this is gonna make infinite content, but either it was super overly complicated or it's just not really well designed, and it's not that fun, because like it just wasn't that good. And honestly, the custom battle thing is the biggest disappointment to me, because like, even me being a content creator, like we were doing these like custom battles essentially on Tenkaichi for years prior to Tenkaichi or Sparking even announced. That's why we're doing those raid battles. We were like doing our own like what if scenarios. Even in Xenoverse, we were creating our own modded battles before the game came out because it was fun to do like, you know, fun little ideas. And they probably got that idea from that, if I can be real with you. But it just did not execute anywhere at all to like how we were promised. Like that mode was a big lie, if I can be real with you. And I don't know if you can even salvage that. I feel like you would have to completely tear it down and redo it to make it more correct or something. I don't know. I think the mode was just too complicated and just wasn't as good. On top of that, the search is awful, so you can't even like see like the top fun ones that are made. It's just, the whole thing needs to be reworked. But like when you take out custom battles, you take out the lackluster story mode, all you had was ranked, and ranked was obviously not exactly healthy for the first couple of months. I mean, the first few weeks was great, and then afterwards it all fell apart. And then got to the point by the time they started doing the good changes that people wanted, a lot of people stopped playing. That's kind of like what happened with Sparking Zero. But again, it's not like a do or die type of thing. I feel like the game can still like, you know, make a crazy comeback if they do the proper updates. It's just the question is whether or not they actually plan on doing that, and it's like what's going on with it. I don't know, man. I just feel like they're fumbling so hard. And for a game that sold literally 5 million plus copies in the first 6 months is nuts. I think by February 2025 is when this year is when they announced that the game sold 5 million copies. I think it was like 3 million copies in like the first day, which is insane. And then by now we're probably like even more, probably at 6 or 7 million. I don't really know. It just, for a game to be this successful sales wise and then to just be quiet is just odd to me. So again, I don't know. Either Bandai has just been quiet because they're working on like the greatest comeback of all time. We're about to get a 3-in-1 run. Like they're gonna win in the end, or they still are just running around like the SpongeBob meme where his head is on fire and you know, firing down and breathing is all he could do. They don't know what's going to be next, and that's a problem. Because the other thing is the way they usually operate is when something doesn't work, they'll never do it again. They will never try again. If someone shows up one day and says, hey, we should do this, they're going to look back and be like, wait, we did that once and it was awful. Never again. Hopefully that's not the case, because I don't want them to have this be a failure that becomes a big stain on future games down the line. Like that's kind of like the problem. So again, I'm hoping that it's just that they work on something big, but also at the same time, I don't want to have this much faith again, because the last time I had this much faith, Spark Zero happened. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. I mean, does anyone even still care? I guess we'll start there. Does anybody even still care? Let me know down below. As far as I know, there's nothing that I know that's secretly being worked on, essentially, what I'm trying to say. Which I know a lot of times people think we do, but we don't. I'm just kind of tossing it out right now. I have no clue. I do know that they're focusing a lot right now on Genshin Squadra, but that's a whole different, like, branch of Bandai, so that has nothing to do with Sparking Zero. Same thing with Xenoverse. Xenoverse, different branch. It has nothing to do with Sparking Zero. They're all kind of independent, competing amongst themselves for like the same audience, and that's why it was always kind of dumb when people were like, "Oh, they need to stop doing this so they can do that." It's like, no, it's a different branch. It's fine, they can coexist. But we've seen that for like the last like decade now. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's time that we get some kind of answer, and hopefully we can push to that direction. And if you end up like, you know, being loud about it, at least be like in a nice way. Don't go on their social media talk about what the fuck y'all doing. Give us answers. We just want to know. We just want to know what's going on, especially the ones that paid for it. I bought like 50 copies of Sparking for people, bro. I bought like 50 deluxe edition copies for people going into the release of the game. 50 copies, dog. You know how expensive that was? A lot. And for what? For DLC that never even came out. We got no release date. We got nothing. Come on, Bandai. Ugh, what an expensive prank, man. What an expensive prank. All right, I'm ending right here. If I find out something, I'll cover it down the line. Let me know your thoughts. But for now, I guess we're all just patiently waiting, and hopefully we don't have to wait until Battle Hour. Battle Hour. Can I speak correctly? Battle Hour. While it is, you know, going to be the big day where they reveal a lot for the game, I also feel like it is way too far away to give us an answer. Like, we got to get something prior to that. Because I feel like if it makes sense in my mind, you drop what you're working on now, and then you use Battle Hour to announce, why can't I say it so correctly? Battle Hour to announce the next big roadmap. And there you can announce, oh, here's also Season 2 of DLC for Spark. Here's Season 5 of Fighters. Here's Xenoverse 3. You know, this is when you announce like the big stuff. But if you have to wait until Battle Hour to get the word that we're finally getting Super Saiyan 4 Goku the second in Spark, and I'm like, all right, we're done here. Like, I don't know, like, you guys aren't listening at this point. Don't do that, Bandai. Just don't do that. That's gonna be a mess. But yeah, other than that, let me know your thoughts. I'm gonna end it right here. The second I find out anything else, I will let you know. Like and comment, and Mark Zero, man. Let's see what happens with that down the line, I guess.